Narcissism versus codependency, and a narcissistic collapse versus narcissistic abuse. That's what I want to talk about in today's video. People are hyper conscious of narcissism in culture today because it's pointing the camera at yourself in it, and a lot of things in our culture have facilitated narcissism, and a lot of people, we've normalized a lot of narcissistic things that lead to narcissistic abuse. And having said that, I think a lot of people are conflating narcissism and codependency. So that's the reason I wanted to make this video. So what's the difference? So you got narcissism, right? People are pretty, like I said, attuned to what it is. But also that, it's been, I think, it's overstated. The selfishness is not narcissism. A lot of these things are just not narcissism. I mean, I will tell you firsthand what narcissism is. It's a fractured sense of self, a self-defense mechanism based in insecurity, usually from childhood, and a way of protecting the ego and the individual from the truth. And a truly narcissistic individual who has clinical NPD, I think the verdict is in that it is incurable, and it is deeply wound into the psyche of a person as psychopathy. It will not change, and that person is forever going to is going to be a narcissist for life. And that's why I found this topic so interesting. It's because as my mind works around these ideas and these beliefs I have, and to the extent that I've done the research and had my own personal experiences, I think of, if a person can't change, I mean, why, right? And I'll try and stay on topic here, but I get interested anyway, why, right? And that's the thing about it is, and it's twofold. With narcissism, part of the personality trait, the personality disorder, sorry, I couldn't think of the term, is that the individual cannot see the forest through the trees. That is the disease, essentially. That is the disorder. Sorry, I keep saying disease. The disorder is the inability to see the errors of their way. I mean, that is the point. Just like psychopathy, and that is a lack of empathy. It manifests in a lack of empathy, right? You can't see yourself. How can you see others, And again, the twofold part is trying to... I'm building weaves within weaves on this topic. Bear with me here. I try to bear with myself. The twofold. Let's see if I can reel it back in. That's one. And the twofold. I lost it. Well, that's narcissism, right? It is uncurable. It is what it is. I'm going to reel all the way back to codependency now. If you're still in the video, I appreciate your patience with my tangential brain. I learned that word now. I use it all the time. Someone told me that in a therapy session. He's tangential. I like it. It's punny. I'm gentle. I like tangerines. No, anyway. So tangential. Codependency. So narcissism. That's narcissism, right? It's totally maladaptive and it can be, very toxic and other overused words, but not it can be. It always will be, inevitably. It's, when the rubber meets the road, i.e. on a long enough timeline, i.e. in a sub-perfect situation. This is the thing about the, personality disorders, and life in general. Things can be amazing when they're great, but it's about when the bad times come. How does an individual deal with these times? And I would argue a narcissist not very well. And this is maybe a perfect segue, although a very long roundabout, as I take this roundabout way into talking about codependence. Codependency looks a lot like narcissism. And I made a quick YouTube short about this moments ago. The main difference, if you're worried about if you are the narcissist, and if you just broke out of a crazy relationship and you're doing the work and you're trying to figure out what the hell happened, you're confused, you're broken, the difference is empathy. That's what you gotta remember. The difference is empathy. More than likely, if you're in this video, you're not a narcissist. Like, this is not, unless you're definitely not a narcissist. You might be a psychopath. You're trying to do research on how to be a better psychopath. But no, you probably have empathy. You're trying to figure out what happened, and that's the difference. There's so many parallels, though, and being a codependent is not a good thing. Being a codependent is not a good thing. Control, that is a similarity. Deep internal, self, loathing, a lack of self, a wounded inner child, a need for validation, a need for reassurance. Probably the biggest correlation between narcissism and codependency is an extreme fear of abandonment. And that's what really kind of makes the two parties kind of at odds with each other. Is the codependent will have a pull in, I'll do anything kind of thing. And this is the thing about these really toxic relationships, at least in my experience, they can flip-flop too. That is the craziness. But for the sake of argument, the codependent has this pull them close, don't leave me, vulnerable, and the narcissist has a grandiose, unempathetic, do what I say kind of manipulation based in their grandiose and superior framing of everything should be given to them. It's really just not love. It's totally a trauma bond. And so having said that, so we got narcissism, we got codependency. Just to summarize, narcissism, no empathy. Codependent, usually large amounts of empathy while they're being the codependent. But people aren't ones and zeros. There is a dance, and the narcissist can have some codependent aspects. The codependent can have some narcissistic aspects. But if we're talking about, for the sake of simplicity, those two aspects, codependent, sometimes extreme empathy, and like a toxic empathy. I would argue most of the time that is the case. And the narcissist, very little to no empathy, and feigned empathy, but usually no empathy. So we got that out of the way, and then we got the similarities, right? Almost, there's more similarities than there isn't. It's two broken, lost souls, and that can feel like love, can it? It can feel like the most love you've ever had in your life. Ah, man, this world. All right, so now we're going to talk about narcissistic abuse versus narcissistic collapse. And if you're a codependent, you might think, wow, I have all the symptoms of narcissistic collapse. I must have been a narcissist. Easy there, partner. Again, relationships are not binary. There is we do take on traits of the people we're around, especially if you're codependent, you're around that person a lot, right? And a narcissist, if they are clinically narcissistic, they can never look inward. So they will do everything in their power because remember, their two biggest fears as a narcissist, I'd say on the surface is abandonment, just like a codependent. So there's that battle, right? Towards the end of a relationship. A codependent will often sacrifice everything, give up all their needs to try and save a relationship, while a narcissist will do whatever they can to maintain their mask from slipping and keeping their supply in order. And that perfectly segues into the second fear, which I guess would be ultimately the overarching total fear of a narcissist, is someone to, one, see them for who they are and basically reveal who they really are. So I made that a little too complicated. Number two, fear of abandonment, just like a codependent. And the number one fear of a narcissist is the fear of being revealed for who they really are. So that's why give yourself grace. If you are starting to understand and see your place in the relationship as more of the codependent, which if you're watching this video, you know, it's not guaranteed, you know, again, we're not binary, but you know, you got to give yourself some grace. You're in this video, you're doing the work. There's a very good chance you weren't a narcissist, and that would be narcissistic abuse. So give yourself grace. You are not a narcissist. That doesn't mean that, again, this is the point of the video, is there in the two, you know, narcissism and codependency, very, very similar parallels, exactly the same with the fallout. So change hurts, healing hurts. It doesn't matter who you are. It doesn't mean you're a narcissist. If you are a narcissist and I don't know the percentages. I don't know if you can actually have percentages, because people now want to be self-identifying for everything and will pretend to be narcissists. I see people pretending like they're talking about being a sociopath on YouTube, and I don't buy that really very much. I don't think those people want to be outed. Anyway, but if you are a narcissist and you are doing the work, wow. Again, I would argue a person can't be clinical MPD and do the work. There's no possible way. That's one of those things, chicken or the egg, or what's the best expression for that? It's like hindsight 2020. If I could say that a narcissist cannot be cured, that means that anyone who is cured is in fact not a narcissist and wasn't a narcissist. And I think that is fair and can be true, because, you know, just like the color of your hair, like it's almost that ingrained into your genetics. It's so ingrained into who you are, what you experienced. It's like that, like there's something that snaps, I believe, in NPD. And again, I have hands-on experience with this and knowing people's stories, and, you know, some pretty brutal upbringings that I don't know how it could be otherwise. I don't know, you know, and that's the type of person, this is when boundaries come in. That type of person just needs to have you have to have strict boundaries in place when it comes to people like that. Anyway, so I guess that's the end of the video. That pretty much summarizes what I kind of wanted to express. A topic I'm really and continually interested in, and as well as, you know, hearing your guys' take on codependency, how you look at it. If you thought I kind of expressed it okay, what you might want to see in a future video, just any comments would be appreciated on this topic. I'm forever interested in this dynamic, especially because I have direct experience with it. Guess which one I was? I'm a really good narcissist. My mask is so good. I make YouTube videos, and I guess I was trying to be facetious about that, but there's a lot. Maybe I am. There is a lot of narcissism on YouTube. I point a camera at myself, right? But yeah. So, and again, a really good narcissist that is part of the diagnosis, that is part of the disorder, is to essentially like offload their trauma onto you. And so to the extent that they're able to do that, just like they feign empathy, you may feign narcissistic traits. You may feign, the same maladaptive way of getting your needs met. I never said a codependent wasn't manipulative. It just manifests differently. They usually aren't sadistic, masochistic most of the time. Again, which isn't a good thing. This is I go on tangents too much. Where were we? Just like they feign empathy, you could feign narcissistic traits, i.e., when the collapse happens and you're discarded by a narcissist, a lot of their crap they'll dump on you. And so to the degree that they can gaslight you into believing you're the problem, a lot of the fallout and a lot of the symptoms of narcissistic collapse can manifest in a codependent's healing process, and their healing process and their symptoms of doing the work, if that makes any sense. Because again, the point of this video is to kind of just help maybe some people that are confused, give you guys some grace, and hopefully can shed some light on this pretty nuanced topic about healing after a very toxic relationship. And that is, for me personally, that was part of the longest part of the journey. I was even in a rehab for a month and a half that I didn't need to be in. And I kept telling people, when my what are the things, like pornography, drinking, I put limerence. I learned out what that meant, and I thought I was all smart, and I was very, had a very know-it-all attitude in there, and I kept calling myself a narcissist, and it's almost like I wanted to be, it's almost like that was my mask of a mask. So again, that was my, hopefully I can help at least one person, anybody with this problem. This conflation, because it took me a long time, because that's part of the gaslighting at the end with the narcissist. They want you to be confused and take all the blame and do as much damage as humanly possible, because again, their number one fear is being exposed. So they don't care what it takes, that if you are gone, that would be the best case for them. And that's really what is dark. And I believe that truly. I've seen some stuff and I've learned a lot. And if you made it out alive and you keep doing the healing, I applaud you. It is not easy. To the degree that person was sadistic and was willing to destroy you, that's, sometimes the proof is in the pudding. Who hurt who the most? And again, I made another video about this, but if you were the one that was discarded and hurt and took all the pain, your win comes later. through healing and having a more fulfilling, balanced, loving life with more than likely prosperity and genuine connection and authenticity with people that you can actually connect with. So anyway, blah, blah, blah. That's the end of this video. Codependency, narcissism. I hope there's some value in it. With my monotone, beanie looking ass. Comment below. Have a great day, guys. God bless.